And so what did you do to her?
Got in a fight.
What did you do to her?
We physically got in a fight.
I know. What did you do to her?
Slapped her and yes, ma'am.
You threatened to kill her?
Oh, ma'am, I didn't.
We are about to watch a parole hearing that is quite interesting because we see positive comments and reflection from the warden. We also see the DA come up and make a profound statement. And personally, I think this is one of my favorite Miss Renatza hearings. With that, let's jump in.
Offender. You are currently serving a 5-year sentence. You were sentenced in Beauregard Parish on June 5th, 2020 for second-degree battery. You have a parole eligibility date, which was October 3rd, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full-term date is January 3rd, 2025. Does all that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, as I mentioned, you're a 4th felony offender, but when I look at your record, I'm very concerned about your violent history. And let me just go over what I saw in the record. In 1993, Lafayette Sheriff's Office, aggravated battery. 2000, second-degree battery in Jeff Davis. 2005, aggravated battery and battery of a police officer in Cal Cashew. 2006, sexual battery in Jefferson Davis. 2011, sexual assault in Eunice, or simple assault, excuse me. 2012, domestic abuse battery. 2016, failure to register as a sex offender, St. Landry. 2017, theft, possession of Schedule 2 and Schedule 4, that was in Eunice. 2017, failure to register again. 2017, battery of a dating partner in Eunice. 2019, domestic abuse battery. And now we have this 2020 episode of second-degree battery and violation of a protective order. Is anything that I read in that record incorrect?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So tell us why all the violence.
Just alcohol, right? Yes, ma'am.
Alcohol did that?
Yes, ma'am.
How? You did that. You did all this. The alcohol didn't do it. So tell us about your alcohol issues.
I just was raised in a family that drank alcohol, and I just give it all up, though.
When? Since you've been in jail this time?
Well, it's probably been about 5 years ago.
But this incident happened in 2020, didn't it? When did it happen? 2019.
Yeah.
So were you drinking then?
Yes, ma'am.
So about 4 years ago. What made you give it up?
Family problems.
So the family made you give it up?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did they manage to do that?
I just I've been working in the oil field, and I just quit drinking, really.
So let's see, you got out of jail in March of 2019. You released from LaSalle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You released from LaSalle, and then this happened shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And so during that time, you were drinking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? What were you drinking? What did you drink?
I drink bourbon.
Any drugs?
No, ma'am. No drugs.
Just the bourbon.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yeah, at one time, yeah, it was just casual, but it turned real serious. It's bottles.
So you're drinking all day, I think, in 2019?
Well, No, not when I was at work, I wouldn't drink. It was when I would get off of work.
So you worked in the oil field, and so you worked so many days on and so many days off. Is that how that worked?
Yes, ma'am.
So how many days were you at work?
I was at work 4 days. I was off 2 days.
So you
I
were
worked
on 4 and off 2. So the 2 days you were off, you stayed drunk.
Well, not a real drunk, but it was a problem. It was a problem. It was getting out of hand. Yeah.
So have you ever had any formal treatment?
I went to some celebrating recovery classes.
When
I
did you
sim-
do that?
I did that over here in DeQuincy.
In DeQuincy?
Yes, ma'am.
So where do they do that at? They're in the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
So you say you went to some classes. What did you learn from the classes that you did go to?
Well, it was to get my sober, like to be sober, and it was to stay away from wrong crowd and just stuff like that.
You ever been to any AA meetings?
Uh, yes, ma'am. In the past, yes,
When?
that was probably about 8 years ago.
How often did you go when you were going to AA meetings?
I would go every I had community service and AA classes, so I had
So
to
you
go.
went because the court required you to go, not because you chose to go.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's different. So let's talk about what happened and why you're in jail. What did you do?
Second-degree battery charge. I was drinking.
What did you do?
Well, we got. I was at the rig. My wife come pick me up, and we went home, and we got in a fight. Yeah.
So what is your wife's name? What at the time, what was your wife's name?
Selena Fontenot.
But there was a protective order in place.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So why were y'all even around each other?
He picked me up at the all rig. I was in Texas, over in Starks, and she came pick me up over there.
And so what did you do to her?
Got in a fight.
What did you do to her?
We basically got in a fight.
I know. What did you do to her?
Slapped her and yes, ma'am.
You threatened to kill her?
Oh, ma'am, I didn't.
Why'd you
Ma'am.
kick in the back door?
I didn't kick the back door in. I did. I was. All the charges right there got dropped. She said I did all that, but I did not do that. I did. She brought
Beat her in the head?
fell against the car and stuff. I didn't beat her in the head. I didn't.
Why did she have to be airmatted out?
We got in a physical fight, and then the cops got there and everything, and she left. Yeah.
I don't think you've really reconciled with what happened that day, that particular day. And then I'm looking at all these other assaults and batteries that are really, really concerning to me. What level of school did you complete, sir?
10th grade.
Did you ever try to get your GED? Why not? That wasn't important to you?
I was in the all field, and
So you already had a good job, you didn't think you needed it, making good money? Okay.
right.
I think it's important, though. I think it's really important for you to you have any children?
Yeah, I have 4 kids. Yeah.
How
Yes,
old
ma'am.
are they?
I got 2 left. 2 of deceased. I got 2 daughters, 28 and 26.
Do you have any contact with the daughters?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, good. You know, there's opposition. We're going to hear from the DA's office in a moment. The sentencing judge is opposed to any consideration for early release. law enforcement is opposed to any consideration. We did get some input from a brother Jackson from the church there in DeQuincy. He was advocating for your parole hearing, so I wanted you to know that. Why do you think, given the record and everything I've just said, why do you think we ought to grant you?
I did my time, and I just feeling better about myself, and I've been around a lot of good people. I think I did my time, and I don't really. I always been a good guy, other than getting in trouble like with back to back to back. But I've been around. I'm just gonna take it's all me but I learned. I'm 50 years old now. I don't need nobody to. I just I just want to get out and be home with my family, and I learned from all this because 4 years ain't short, and I just want to be home. It's just.
How you gonna stay out of jail? You seem to have a problem with women.
I'm just gonna stay away from all the and just into myself and
How you gonna stay sober?
I ain't drinking no more. Alcohol is. I'm 50 years old. I learned from. I ain't getting no younger.
Who drinks? You just said. So everywhere you go, people will go be drinking. How you not gonna drink?
I'll go to a class, or it's to help myself. I mean, I'm just ain't gonna drink.
Yeah, but you said that before. Well, I guess the court made you go. I don't have any other questions. Let me ask Warden Tarver, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Artigo?
Well, I've been the warden now for about 3 years, kind of come off of patrol to take this job. The little time that I've known Artigo, and this is just from observing him, I've watched him when he didn't think I was watching. I listen to his phone calls. I monitor the phone calls and stuff in here. I hear everything you just said. I didn't see any of that in him. Maybe I was fooled, but what little bit he's been around me, like I said, when he didn't even think I was listening or watching, I seen a pretty good man.
Well,
I was
good.
shocked when you read that off in a way. I didn't know none of that. Maybe I should myself look into things a little bit more. But like I said, I haven't had this job that long. He was already here when I took over as warden.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, particularly about observing him when he didn't know you were looking. So I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir. We appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, ma'am.
Any
Thank
questions?
you.
Could we hear from the DA's office? I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you early on, but welcome, and we'd like to hear what you want to say about Mr. Artigo.
Thank you, Chairman Renatza and members of the board. I'm Jimmy Lestage. I'm the district attorney in Beauregard Parish. I'm here for the victim. She is currently in the hospital on hospice care and cannot appear, but she did prepare a written statement to your victim's coordinator. I think you have that. I'd encourage you to review that. I want to point out, as you stated, he is a violent criminal with a long criminal history and a registered sex offender. I believe he presents a danger, not only continuing danger to Ms. Fontenot, but he presents a danger to anyone else that he's around at this time. The DOC records that I've been able to review do not indicate that he's received any kind of programming to help himself stay out of a situation like this and keep himself out of the Department of Corrections. So I would certainly encourage him to participate in anything that may be available as far as anger management and or decisions or whatever the DOC may offer. So I do not agree that he has done his time and he's ready to be released. I believe that's also the feeling that Ms. Fontenot has, and she stated in her statement. She spent 30 days in the hospital after this event. And I think you're privy to the color photographs from the file. Have you seen those? Okay, I'm not going to put those on the screen then, but they are not minor. They show severe violence And I don't know if he's downplaying the severity of the issue or if he just does not realize that he almost beat this woman to death. So, with that said, we are opposed. The sheriff is opposed. The judge is opposed. And again, the victim is who we're here for today, and she's not able to appear. And part of that is because of the broken hip she received in this incident. So she is hospitalized and homebound, I believe, on hospice care. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lesage. We appreciate you being here today. Mr. Artigo, before we vote, is there something you'd like to say to us, the board?
Well,
All right, so I think we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first. Mr. Artigo, you heard about the extent of the damage that Ms. Fontenot sustained in her ongoing medical issues. I agree with the district attorney. You say you've done your time. You hadn't. You got a 5-year sentence. You just happened to be before us today because of the law says you're eligible for parole. I don't see that I'm proud to hear what the warden has said about you, but based on your criminal history, your violent criminal history, and the lack of programs to address those issues, my vote today is to deny your parole. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Artigo, based upon an extensive criminal history, a history of violence, the entire legal community is strongly opposed victim opposition, and you do need a long-term substance abuse program. Hopefully, you can get enrolled in that before release, but at this time, I'm going to deny your request.
Mrs. Jackson.
My vote is to deny for the same reasons as my colleagues. And I would just like to make sure you understand, Mr. Orgo, that beating a woman is not being in a fight. Okay? So if that's how you view the situation, then you've got a lot to learn. Beating a woman up is not the same thing as y'all being in a fight. That's it.
All right, Mr. Artigo, you received a unanimous vote to deny your parole today. It's been denied. Warden Tarver, thank you so much for accommodating us. Thanks for your input. We're going to sign off from the Quincy City Jail at 10:47.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
I was at the edge of my seat during this one. I don't know how I missed it until now. Richard has it highlighted in red, and it was just an oversight. What was so unique about this hearing for me was so many things. I mean, one is having the warden come on and actually kind of have like this completely transparent introspection in front of like the parole board, nonetheless, and a district attorney to say, hey, this is all I've seen of him, but maybe maybe I should improve how I look at these files. And then you have the DA, which really, if you want to, could you paint a better architecture, you know what I mean, of a Louisiana district attorney, and he comes in with his speech. You have Miss Renatza, that this might have been my favorite interview that I've seen Miss Renatza do. She very Miss Jackson-esque. I mean, kind of leading him on, and you're like, where is she? And then and letting him kind of dig himself and it gets to the point where you find out that he beat her to the point where she was hello-vaced to a hospital. And she goes through the sequences of it, giving him every opportunity to admit how bad he beat her, and he never did. And then, of course, you have the epic Miss Jackson mic drop to, I guess, tie the bow on the hearing. But it is scary. I think that what we see here through this hearing is just how, here you have a warden. He said he was new, but still, even when the guy didn't think he was being watched, I don't know how to interpret this, but the dude seems like a complete monster. I mean, he's lucky he's not life in prison. I don't know. How do you only get 5 years? Why was it not attempted homicide? Why is it? Well, I just covered a case before this where there's a man who got habitual offender, life in prison, and he had burglary charges, no violent crimes on his record, but they gave him an habitual offender, life in prison in Angola. And here this man has a 5-year sentence. How is that possible? I make it make sense. Now the something I just can't. I can't make sense of it. And it looks like you have a DA that's very aware of how crazy things are. That's talking to this poor victim that is in hospice care, that his life is forever altered, and he's gonna get out and in the next few years, no matter what. What a bad hearing. He tanked his hearing. Oh my gosh. Mr. Rossa tore him a new one. But here what's something is interesting that Richard found is that it does seem to be a family of crime. So they did this bank robbery. Now, I think it's not entirely clear to me. So he was the getaway driver in the bank robbery, but it looked like I think the woman who he was involved in it. And then maybe someone's father or mother, but Ernest police have announced the capture of Selena Fontenot, 54, who's accused of robbing the state bank. It wasn't any bank robbery, too. You listen to this. She was picked up last night at Calsua Parish on another robbery charge. The police chief said she will be transported on Monday for booking. Fontenot is accused of robbing the bank Thursday. In that incident, the robber told the bank employees that she had a bomb. In a weird twist of this story, police say Fontenot, also known as Selena Doucette and Selena LeBlanc, is the sister of Charles Fontenot. And Charles Fontenot is accused of using an alleged bomb during a robbery of the Basel State Bank in Eunice last year. Both bombs turned out to be fake. In Thursday robbery, a woman wearing a baseball cap and dark glasses and holding a handgun took an undisclosed amount of cash from the bank. The robber then told the bank employees that the package she was leaving behind contained a bomb and that it would explode if they tried to follow her. Following the robbery, the woman fled the bank and was allegedly picked up by the accomplice, whom police identified as our Prince Conley Ortego. The bank would remain sealed off hours until the state police bomb squad would arrive. The bomb we determined the package left was nothing more than a battery, some wires, and a plastic case. Sounds like a meth-tactic idea. Suspecting this robbery might be related to last year's similar incident, the police obtained a search warrant for Selena Fontenot's residence, and the investigating officers apparently missed her by seconds. They discovered a chicken dinner cooking in the oven. Wow, she had a chicken dinner going in the oven. And an open beer still cold on the floor. I could just picture the detectives going in there, like Louisiana, and they break into the search warrant. And then one of the detectives goes up and picks up the beer and is like, still cold. We just missed them. The investigators obviously, the money of the robbery was not in the house, but police did find items they said were linked to the Fontenot robbery. Although Fontenot has now been captured, police are still seeking Ortego. Her brother, Charles Fontenot, who is considered a prime suspect in last year's fake bomb robbery of the Basel State Bank in West Maple, is currently serving a 20-year sentence. It all runs in the family, and I don't know. Is she the victim? I don't know. The sentence, oh, listen to this way. It gets more, another twist. So the sentence involved October 7, 2013 of the home bank Cameron Street. Charles Fontenot has a long record, having been arrested more than 20 times in St. Landry, Lafayette. And in 1985, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison when he was rearrested in 1988 after he used a tractor to break out of Dixon Correctional Institute. Oh my gosh. And that's not this guy. That is the other person involved that's the person who did the bank robbery the year before. But can't make this stuff up. It still blows my mind how he got 5 years. That just, it just goes to show. I think these DAs like to talk out of two sides of their mouth. He stands up here and he acts all tough, but meanwhile, he might have been the very man that agreed to a 5-year deal when they could have easily done attempted homicide and gone to trial and said, let's, but the DAs don't care. What they care is that, I saw someone Richard actually shared it with me. It was an interview and someone made a good point in it. And they said, the DAs don't care about protecting their communities. They care about wins and loss column. So when you take a plea deal, it's a win in the win column. And then when they're going up for election, they can say, look, I've won 99.9% of my cases. But if you then look into the weeds of it, you realize that they're actually weak on crime. Because being tough on crime is going to court. Being tough on crime is getting losses in the loss column. And I think that it's really important for the more and more that the constituency and people can realize that it's all just a facade and all a game that most of the DAs put on there. Some good ones, but the more that we figure that out, the better. And we can actually have people that are in there to protect their constituency. Thank you, Richard, for the info. And with that, I'll let you go. Okay, so we're going to watch 2 more hearings, and then we're going to jump over to Premier in Connecticut. Of course, if you're not watching this live, I'll put a link to the next hearing in Connecticut if you want to see it. But we're going to see a hearing about a man who was given a life sentence as an habitual offender for doing a lot of burglary stuff. There is a wrench thrown in here, which makes it not as clear cut. He has a charge that is worrisome, to say the least. And then after this hearing, we're going to go to another Mr. Natsa, Mr. O'Shea, and Ms. Jackson hearing, where a man says that it was just a game of tug of war he was playing with his significant other as to why she got hurt. Just an innocent game of tug of war. But with that, let's jump in.
This is the matter of Thomas J. Smokey, DOC number 3422, felony offender. He is he's serving a life sentence on the charges of simple burglary, illegal possession of stolen things, and simple burglary and theft after having been adjudicated a habitual offender. Is that information, Mr. Smokey, basically correct?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Alvin Roche. Would you please answer any questions he might have?
Good afternoon, Mr. Smokey. How are you?
Doing fine, a little nervous.
You're nervous. I can see it. But sit back, relax, and we're gonna have a conversation, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smokey, you're currently 47 years old. You're a 3rd felony offender, and you were sentenced as an habitual offender for theft, $500 or more. You were sentenced to life. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have an extensive criminal history, and you hadn't done very well on supervision. So tell me what was going on.
I was just growing up, sir, and got with the wrong people and made wrong decisions.
And doing those little things got you in big trouble.
Yes, sir.
Now, what have you done to rehabilitate yourself?
I've taken every class that was offered to me. I've tried to do a little rehabilitation on my own in the dorms and stuff with other inmates.
Now, Mr. Smokey, how long you been incarcerated?
19 and a half years.
19 and a half years, and 12 months ago, you got a write-up.
Yes, sir.
And you were sent to segregated quarters. It was serious enough that you were sent to segregated quarters for contraband. What was the contraband?
Failed drug test, sir.
And 5 months before that, in 2022, you got another contraband. What was that contraband?
Possession of drugs.
Now, I will tell you quite frankly, I understand your sentence and I understand your predicament, but I can't vote for you today because you're still committing disciplinary write-ups, very serious disciplinary write-ups. You have a drug problem. You need to talk to the warden, assistant warden, and see what you can do about that. You have an extensive criminal background. You do poor supervision. You even do poorly incarcerated. It's time to get the train on the tracks and get everything straight. So the next time you appear before this board, you'll be write-up free, you'll have substance abuse treatment, and you'll have some ammunition for us to consider releasing you. Warden, would you like to add anything?
I agree with you, Mr. Roche, that we're gonna come up with a plan for him to have more programming and more treatment, and stuff to try to conquer his drug habits and stuff. So I think he need more programming. They froze. Big time. Okay, can't do that. Oh.
It's funny. They froze.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't seen this warden. Maybe once have we seen her?
Go ahead, it's good. Y'all can talk towards this computer.
Mr. Marabello,
Computer is.
she can hear you.
Warden, can you hear us? We can't hear you though.
Oh, God.
There we
Now
go.
you can, now we can.
You hear me now?
We're apparently out. Are we out? Can you not see us?
I cannot see y'all at all.
We're here, so we're gonna continue on, without being able to see us.
Okay, so, I'll repeat what I was, saying to Mr. Roche about Mr. Smokey's, drug, problem. I think that he do need more programming, and we would suggest that he go into, some type of substance abuse, long-term care. So
We hadn't heard that part of it.
okay,
I think Ms. Wise has a question of Mr. Smokey.
okay. Can you hear me? Yeah, so can you hear?
No, ma'am.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw the record when you had been enrolled in victim awareness, and then you got removed due to excessive absences. Speak to that. What was going on?
That's when I got that write-up for the contraband, ma'am, and they moved me to another camp.
Okay, okay, all right. I understand that. I understand. That's all I had, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from your brother, Frankie Smokey. I don't know if we still have him on, but,
There you are. Okay.
Smokey, can you hear me? Mr. Frankie Smokey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, if you'll introduce yourself, sir, and tell us what you'd like us to know about your brother.
I was just
going to say that I'm prepared that if he is paroled to take on the responsibilities of making sure that he does what he's supposed to do, attend AA meetings, get him back on his feet to where he is not offending.
Thank you, Mr. Smokey. Lucky to have you. Mr. Thomas Smokey,
Yes, sir.
would you like to say to the board before we vote?
Since I have gotten the contraband write-ups, I have been in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the only thing offered to me right now. And I have been write-up free and drug free since then.
Thank you very much. Panel ready to vote?
Yes,
Roger?
Mrs. Logan, based on a general disciplinary conduct that's unacceptable, there are 2 write-ups in 2022, both for contraband. Both write-ups dealt with illegal drugs, excessive criminal history, and the need for substance abuse treatment. I deny your request.
Mr. Thomas, I urge you to stay the course. You're doing well, stay the course, but I deny as well, and I urge you to reapply as soon as you're eligible. But for the reasons stated by Mr. Roche, my vote is denied, but encourage you to continue to stay the course and reapply when you're eligible.
Mr. Smokey, my vote likewise is to deny. I think you need some strong long-term substance abuse treatment. The warden indicates that she's going to assist you in trying to get into that. So I hope that you take advantage of that. And perhaps the next time you'll have a different verdict. Today, your request has been denied. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I wish I could rage about this, and I think maybe I still can. Given a life sentence for really what's a lot of petty theft crimes, now he does have a molestation of a juvenile in the mix, and I don't know how to interpret it. The reason I say this is I did the math, and he was 20 years old when he received that. And he also received it on the same day that they smacked him with like 4 other robbery or burglary crimes. So it just wouldn't surprise me if he was doing a burglary with like a girlfriend who was 16, and they decided to throw the book at him, kind of thing. But I know it's not fair to try to make excuses, and of course 20 and 16 is still not appropriate, but it's obviously different than the roaches that we're used to raging against. Now, still, Louisiana gave him a life sentence, and the crimes were, minor. $500, well, over $500, but basically he had a jury trial. They found him guilty of stealing stuff, and they gave him a life sentence as an habitual offender. And you can see the crimes here. He has June 15, 1994, for, it doesn't exactly say what. Then he has a 1996 guilty for the indecent behavior with juvenile. But on the same day, as you see, he has the guilty plea for simple burglary, another guilty plea for simple burglary, another guilty plea for simple burglary. So you can see they threw the book at him. I think they gave him, on that one day, October 17th, 3 simple burglaries and the molestation of a juvenile when he was 20 years old. It doesn't seem served much time at all, because on March 3rd, he pled guilty to another simple burglary. So October, that's November, December, January, February, right? So, and so those are like the felonies that they get him with, where then, I guess a few years later, he gets this next thing and they give him life. And I get that, letting him out now, he probably goes right back to his ways and he does need programs and the whole thing. But still, the idea that Louisiana gave him life is just drives me nuts. So here's the crime that he did in 2003, which you might even argue. I mean, I don't know how much jail time he got for his one before that 97, but that is 6 years later that he gets his next one. So the Pool Lumber Company operated with sales area and a warehouse behind the sales area. In October 2003, they hired the defendant to work in the warehouse. At the time of the offense, the system for returning purchases items in Pool involved the customer taking the materials to be returned to the warehouse portion of the business and obtaining a returned good material slip. This returned good material slip indicated the type of quantity of goods returned signed by any of the 3 workers in the warehouse. The customer could present the signed returned goods materials slip of the sale area and receive cash refund of up to $500. Refunds over $500 had to be mailed to the customers. See right here. It's good money, right? Mike, the manager, reviewed all documents concerning cash refund by Pool. He became suspicious after the relatively large number of refunds given to Katrina Carrier. The inventory records did not support the alleged returns. Further, Manguino did not recognize the signature of the worker alleged receiving materials back from Katrina. Also, May 6, 2004 refund. He notes Katrina's last name was different. Manguino indicated on April 9, 2004, Katrina was refunded for $142.45.20 for material allegedly returned to Pool. Returns. I mean, as you can see, this is like it's they figured out a hack how to print money, and they're like, wow, we can let's just keep getting money. And then the manager's like, wait a minute. I'll drop the link in the description. Thank you, Richard. On May 11, 2004, Manguino had alerted the sales clerk to inform him the next time Katrina. Oh, this was 2004 and 2006. Okay, so to write down the license plate number of the vehicle. Katrina made a purchase of Pool. Manguino provided the license plate. Blah blah blah. They actually brought in the detective for this. And June 14, 2004, he questioned the defendant concerning his involvement in the offenses. The defendant was nervous but denied any participation in the offenses. After Detective Hartzog showed the defendant the document provided by Manguino, the defendant confessed orally and in writing. Isn't that crazy? It's like you would think, these criminals would just learn to just say attorney, but we only see the dumb ones in prison, right? I mean, you get what I'm saying. So participating in one of the fraudulent returns of the Pool, after Detective Herzog pointed out to the similar, of course, smart ones go to prison too, but it is interesting how they just don't understand that all they have to do is say attorney. The defendant confessed orally and in writing participating in 5 fraudulent returns in his written confession. He stated, I did 5 returns. It was my idea to do it. I got some of the money and she kept the rest. No one else was involved except me and Katrina. I am very sorry for doing it and would like to repay the money. That detective, for sure, was like, yeah, just write it down. Here's a soda. You want some, here you go. He had no idea that this little paragraph full of typos and everything would end them up with a life sentence in Angola. You can't make it up. On July 9, 2004, Detective Herzog questioned Katrina concerning the offenses at Pool. Katrina confessed in writing. On July 12, 2004, the defendant advised the detective that the defendant's sister had been involved in the failed attempt to obtain fraudulent refund. It's so funny when they figure this out. They're like, wow, you can get money, man. Katrina also testified in trial at the reference of the fraudulent returns in April. She indicated that the defendant, it's hard for me to understand that this turned into a life sentence. Life! And even when you look at his recorded crimes, it's hard to understand how this could be life. I mean, there's no weapons involved. It's burglary stuff. In counseled assignments of errors, number 2, the defendant argues that the sentence imposed on count 1 is excessive because it's not the worst criminal to violate the simple theft statute, and the offenses were not the worst incidents of simple theft. I mean, Louisiana Code, blah, blah, blah. How do they argue that it's not excessive? The PSI indicated that the defendant had at least 20 felony convictions. Oh, okay. Well, and any sentences less than the maximum would allow him to continue his criminal behaviors and cause citizens to sustain temporary substantial loss. Okay, well, I didn't realize he had 20 felonies. I would still say life is ridiculous. Locking someone up for life in this scenario, it's totally different. You harm a child, you take someone's life, totally different. But in this scenario, it's clear that the dude has an addiction problem, and he's also not, except for his freaking molestation charge, which I wish he didn't have. But you've heard my thoughts on that already, and I'm just trying to run through that. That you would just say that this person, you can give him a 20-year sentence. You can give him there's like a 20-year sentence would be pretty darn severe. And so that's why I just don't get it. The court found there was undue risk during the period of suspended sentence or probation. The defendant would commit another crime. The defendant was indeed in correction treatment. Custodial environment that could provide most effectively his commitment to institution. A lesser sentence than the sentence would be imposed would depreciate the seriousness of the defendant's crime. And we have seen so many vile criminals that do the worst to children, that do the worst of the worst in every scenario, and you don't see this sentence. A lesser sentence than the sentence imposed would depreciate the seriousness of the defendant's crime, which is literally found a scheme in returning something. Like, just please. The court also found the defendant had been persistently involved in similar offenses, which went above and beyond the criminal history set forth in the multiple offender adjudication and others. In fact, that the defendant was relatively young, having been born in 1976. There was no mitigating circumstance whatsoever in this case. The court found no reason to deviate from the maximum sentence. Man. It just makes no sense, but what can you do? And you would think this is archaic. You think maybe this was written in like this, appeal came in and I don't know, maybe it was the 60s. Maybe it was like back in the medieval times. No, this is 2007. This is like, it feels like you could be in a different country. Like this is the type of thing you would see happen in the gulags or in like the internment camps in China, where it's like, oh, you have all these burglaries, life by Angola, nonetheless. But anyways, obviously, I guess it was he had a chance of parole, probably because of Act 122.
So you're accused, Mr. Flores, of violating the condition of your parole, specifically condition number 4, and it states, on June 12, 2023, you were booked into the St. Tammany Parish Jail by Covington Police Department for battery of a dating partner. On November 13, 2023, you pled guilty to the charge and were sentenced to 5 months in jail. How do you plead to violate condition number 4?
I pleaded guilty to the charge.
Now, today, how do you plead to violating your parole condition?
Not guilty.
Okay. We'll talk about it in a second.
Okay.
Then condition number 10, as of June 14, 2023, you're $882 in arrearage on your supervision fees.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last payment, March 24th, 2022. How do you plead to violating condition number 10?
Guilty, ma'am.
Okay, your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer her questions?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ms. Jackson. I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I see that you were paroled on January 20th of 2021.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you have been on parole now for 2 years?
Over 2 years,
Over
I
2 years.
want like 2 years and going on 3. Going on, it would be on January 21st would be 3 years. Ma'am.
Yes. And you have been detained on this charge since June 15th of 2023. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Before we get to the violations alleged against you, up until that time, were you in compliance with your conditions?
Yes, ma'am. I held employment. I also we report every month. I never tested positive for any UAs. I wasn't going to bars. I don't drink. I wasn't
Where were you
doing criminal
working?
activity.
Where were you
But
working?
I had two jobs. I worked for the solar company called A to Z Solar, and I used that to pay my bills. And then I worked another job part-time at Wendy's, at the fast food restaurant Wendy's, ma'am. And I basically I got my parole transfer to Texas, and then I was in Texas for about a year, and then after that I transferred it back here to St. Tammany. That's where my girlfriend Maria was from, and right away within 3 to 6 months I became a fabric of society. I attended church, worked, held a stable housing, and just try to be a productive citizen. Unfortunately, during the circumstance with me and my girlfriend, we got into an argument, and when the officers came and arrested me, I figured maybe it would take 3 months for me to resolve the case. And every time I go to court, because of the way the courts are set up here in St. Tammany, they kept pushing me back and pushing me back. And the misdemeanor itself carried 6 months, which I already have served, and they wanted to push me back to February. And in the frustration of the court and everything, I told them just to give me the time served so I could get it over with, because I don't have time to keep my life on standstill. I feel like I've made a complete 180 to the person I was prior to September 16th of 2016.
What were you on, what are you on parole for? What was your
Possession of marijuana, ma'am.
felony possession?
Yes, ma'am. Possession of marijuana. And
Okay.
so compared to who I was prior to me catching the charge I'm on parole, I feel like I made a complete 180 in who I am and woven myself into the fabric of society.
Stop talking. When did you fall behind on your fees?
I want to say when I got transferred over here, I want to say maybe like about 6 months after that. What happened was I did send fees. The thing is that they weren't getting logged in for some reason, and I told my parole officer, not Mr. Max that I have now, but I told my parole officer prior to that, Mr. Chad, I think, he had told me that he was like that he was going to look into it, but then all of a sudden they changed me to Mr. Max, and I never got an answer why they weren't being registered in or I was
How were you sending in your fees?
through money order, ma'am.
Okay.
Mhm.
You weren't doing it online through that?
No, ma'am, no, I'm not really tech savvy.
All right. Well, tell us about the incident with you and Maria.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Tell me about that.
Okay, well, we had I was at my home, and she was staying there as well, but then for about 6 months prior to that, she had moved with a friend of hers, so like that we would kind of have a fresh start. And well, when she arrived at my home, I was in my room asleep, and we had gone into disagreement. And while I was sleeping, she had wanted her mattress that I was laying on, and then we got into an argument over that. But we were arguing for that. We have roommates that we sublet some rooms. One of them decided to call the police, and when the police came, they separated us, and I told them the same situation, that we're arguing over a mattress.
When you said separated y'all from doing what?
Oh, we weren't fighting or nothing. I was in one room and she was in the closet getting her clothes. But that's standard procedure. The police officers, as soon as they come to a home and there's a domestic dispute, they get one person and they take them separate from the other person. So like that, they don't collaborate in their stories. And that was back in June, and I figured this would be resolved. And since there were, I didn't hit her, I didn't slap her.
Tell me what happened. What alarmed your roommate?
The screaming and the arguing. The screaming and the arguing that we were discussing, because she wanted the mattress that I was laying on, and I told her, I'm like, can you just please wait until tomorrow and just kindly just give me some time. And she wanted the mattress right then and there. And so then out of frustration, I got up and I picked up the mattress and I threw it down the hallway. And that was that. And I've been incarcerated going on 6 months now for that. And like I said, I figured this issue would be resolved by then, but the courts here, they kept pushing me back and pushing me back, and I just, I just want to move forward with my life. And it was hard enough already for me to serve 15 years for marijuana possession, and I just would like to have a chance, an opportunity to go back out there and take advantage of any kind of anger management courses, which my parole officer had referred me to in the beginning, because he told me they were going to let me out. I was going to get a technical, and all I had to do is take anger management. And then he came back 3 days later and said that it's up for revocation. So I didn't know how it went from one extreme to the next, especially if I've been in compliance. And you could ask him yourself. I have the paper right here where it says that you recommended anger management. And now that was 6 months ago. And my life has been in pause ever since. And I just wanted to address that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Rushing?
Mr. Flores, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Flores, it is your contention that nothing was physical about this offense.
Oh, can you repeat the question, sir?
There was no physical altercation in this offense. You didn't hit.
No, I didn't hit her. I didn't slap her. I didn't strike her.
Did you push her?
I grabbed her arm when we were like moving the mattress, but there was no I didn't physically hurt her. I'm not an angry person. I'm not a type of person that.
Why did you grab her arm?
Excuse me, sir?
Why did you grab her arm?
Because I was trying to put the mattress out, and we were playing tug of war with the mattress. So that was that situation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Flores, so how do you explain the bruises on her arms?
From grabbing her arm, ma'am, during the tug of war mattress.
I don't think you were playing tug of war.
Yes,
Anyway, let me ask the officer, Mr. Cairns, is there any information you want to share with us?
No more, me and Dave.
Oh, sorry about that, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
No, ma'am. I'm here just to strictly report on his supervision. I wanted to say that although we did have that minor setback, unfortunately, I got the wrong information that I was able to give him some anger management classes to possibly let him bond down during this process. A supervisor corrected the information, so we had to move towards this hearing problem. But this has been his only violation besides the fee issue. I've only been his agent for about a month or two while he was out of incarceration before he was transferred to me. We've never really had an issue with him. This is the only violation he's ever had. I don't believe he's ever going to be an issue. I feel this was an isolated incident, but I just wanted to provide that information to y'all. I don't have anything else to say besides that, unless you have any questions for me.
Yeah, I think, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Of course, yes,
Well,
ma'am.
We'll hear from Miss Maria. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Hello?
Yes, anything you want to say to us?
Yes, it's my fault, and one of my boyfriend, but is he not guilty. Only probably today, but it's not fighting, not doing nothing, and I stay in jail for nothing. I need he go home. It's my fault.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Please, it's
Ricardo, is there anything you'd like to say before we vote briefly?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say that I take responsibility for the situation I put myself in. I can't change the past, but I could redirect the future. And I know that if giving another opportunity, I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, get myself right, in order for my family, for my kids, and go back to the grind and paying the bills.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson?
All right, Ms. Flores, my vote today is to do not revoke, to return you to supervision and add a condition of supervision that you complete anger management.
Thank you.
Mr. Rusher?
My vote is do not revoke, return to supervision, and add a condition to complete anger management.
Thank you.
My vote also is the same, Mr. Flores.
Thank you very much.
Do not revoke, return you to supervision, and enroll and complete the anger management.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for, Mr. Cairns, for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Max.
No problem.
Te amo, amor. Te cuidas. Thank you.
Water.
Did anyone catch what he said there? The last word before, I think he called for the warden or maybe not the warden, for a CO to open the door, but he murmured something after he spoke to her. And I don't understand Spanish what he said, but I don't know. He gives me the creeps. And it's, the whole idea of, oh, it was nothing. I threw the mattress, which, yeah, okay, you threw the mattress. And we have seen people where police are called and you can get revoked. That we do see that, but the idea that her arm was hurt and then he says, oh, we were playing tug of war. It's like, oh, please give me a break. First it's 1 second she's asking for the mattress, and then you throw it, and then the next second she's hurt, and then we were playing. We were playing tug of war. Come on, it was just an innocent game of tug of war, and it's like, man, really? But if the board did their thing, and then he says he had 15 years for possession of marijuana. I don't have any information on him. But it's it is possible that he got 15 years for simple possession. That certainly is. I'm not gonna say that that's not. We've seen crazy things like that, but it's also possible he's done much worse. But he is out of custody at the time that I'm looking at this, so it seems he finishes his program. Hopefully he stays out of trouble. Then we see the victim come on and break down crying and blaming it on herself. And that's always tragic and something that I think we see far too often in these hearings. And I don't know what else to say. I think it comes with the territory, but we see that all too often. You don't get injured by your significant other. He ends up in jail, and all of a sudden it's your fault. But I thought it was a good hearing by this crew, Mr. O'Shea, Ms. Renatz, Ms. Jackson. I like when this panel's together. All right, so if you're watching this live, you should automatically be zapped to channel Mandu 2. If you're not watching live, look in the description below to click it. The majority of you subscribed to Mandu are not subscribed to the second channel. I'm not sure if you're not aware of it. It's Connecticut parole hearings plus other hearings that it covered. I think it's fascinating. So please do head over, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you there. With that, I'll let you go.